Hey guys! So we're trying something a little bit new today. I thought it would be fun to share the games that I enjoyed playing throughout 2021. So the one upside to being ill all the time is that I've had a lot of free time to play video games, which has been awesome. And it's actually been kind of therapeutic for me because if I'm feeling queasy or if I'm in pain, then I can just focus on playing the game and it helps to take my mind off it. So here's a run through of my favourites from the games I played during 2021. Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. So this was my first Star Wars game and the gameplay style definitely took some getting used to. Basically, if you die, you respawn at your previous save location, but you can only save at certain points, and when you respawn, all of the enemies in the area respawn with you. It's definitely a more punishing playstyle than I'm used to coming from Assassin's Creed and the newer Tomb Raider games, but once I got used to it, I started to enjoy the story and have fun exploring the different levels. And the thing is, the best thing about this game is that you unlock some really cool combat techniques. And let's face it, there is nothing more badass than taking out a group of stormtroopers with a frickin' lightsaber. The Witcher 3. This was my introduction to the Witcher universe, so for me it did feel like the game had a really slow start. There was a ton of unnecessary dialogue and to be honest it didn't really make all that much sense to me, but I gave it a chance and I persevered. And I'm really glad I did because I ended up loving the open world adventure. And not long after I finished the game, me and Sky ended up watching the Netflix series and we both absolutely love it. I find the stories and the lore captivating, and actually watching the series has helped me make more sense of the game's overall story, which kind of makes me want to go back and replay the game. Anyway, great game, would thoroughly recommend. Ghost of Tsushima. Words cannot describe how good this game is. It took me a little while to get used to the combat, but once I got the hang of it, I was loving enemy encounters. Rushing into combat and using standoff makes you feel totally badass. And the stealth side of things plays like one of the good Assassin's Creed games. Actually, it's probably even a little bit better than Assassin's Creed. Shh. On top of that, the game is visually stunning. The exploration system is unique and rewarding. The story is genuinely interesting. This was by far my best overall gaming experience of the year, and it's the game that got me into trophy hunting because I simply wasn't ready to leave after the main story was finished. I wanted to fully explore the island and just keep on playing. Marvel's Spider-Man. This was the first Spider-Man game I've ever played, so I went into it with no expectations and ended up thoroughly enjoying it. The story was great, the combat was challenging but enjoyable, and the traversal, just swinging through Manhattan, was simply awesome. Ratchet and Clank. I played through the remastered version of Ratchet and Clank, and for an old game, it holds up really well. The story was fun and light-hearted, the characters are funny and lovable. I will say that this is probably the most time-consuming game in terms of trophy hunting because it required a lot of extra play to level up all the different weapon types. But you know what? I still enjoyed it. Even when playing a level for a third or fourth time, the different weapons were unique and fun, and I found myself still enjoying it. It was genuinely good fun and definitely a game I would recommend. God of War. Again, my first game from the series, and I had no idea what to expect. But oh my god, is this a good game? The game looks amazing, the story was great, I loved how the relationship between Kratos and his son developed, I enjoyed the take on Norse mythology, the combat was challenging but rewarding. 10 out of 10, would thoroughly recommend. Horizon Zero Dawn. Now this is my second, maybe even my third attempt to get into this game. I originally tried to play when it was first released, but it just didn't click with me. I think because I found the combat a little bit challenging, or maybe I just wasn't all that invested in the story. I'm not sure. And when I started playing again this time round, I wasn't really all that into it. But I am so glad I persevered, because at some point something just clicked and I began to really enjoy this game. So much so that I ended up collecting the platinum and going on to complete the DLC, The Frozen Wilds, which, by the way, is a really good storyline. I think for me, I found that was more enjoyable than the main game. So a good game overall, and one that I'm glad I went back to. L.A Noire. This was the second time I've played this game, and I'd actually been keeping an eye out for a good offer on it for a while, because I enjoyed my first playthrough so much and I really wanted to go back and see if it was as good as I remembered. So I first picked the game up about 10 years ago or so, which is when I got my PlayStation 3 and started to get back into gaming. So normally I would say that a detective game isn't my kind of thing, but something about this game just instantly clicked with me. I enjoyed playing detectives, searching for clues, interviewing people, trying to decide if they were telling me the truth or not, and then trying to figure out what had happened with each case. Rising through the ranks of the Los Angeles police force was enjoyable and rewarding, and I would thoroughly recommend this game. I think despite its age, it holds up really well. Heavy Rain. This was an interesting one. I've never played anything quite like it, and I certainly enjoyed the choice-driven narrative of the story. No spoilers, but it's quite a dark game in terms of the story and some of the things that can happen to the main character. So it's definitely not for everyone. And while I'm glad I played it, I wouldn't say it's something I'm in a hurry to experience again. It left me with a bittersweet taste, but maybe that has more to do with the fact that I really wanted the platinum and had to grind through each of the optional story choices. Lesson learned. Do not waste time trying to platinum choice-based story games. Honestly, it is a far better overall experience to just make your initial choices and see where they lead you. So overall, a good game, definitely worth a mention, but I kind of spoiled my overall experience by trophy hunting. ASTRO's Playroom. ASTRO's Playroom comes free with the PlayStation 5, so naturally this was the first PS5 game I played. And while it's really more of a tech demo demonstrating the DualSense controller's capabilities, it's still a really fun, cute game that I actually really enjoyed. Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. This was a game I had bundled with my PS5, and after my last Ratchet and Clank experience, I was really looking forward to getting into this, and it did not disappoint. About halfway through playing this game, I moved my PS5 out of the office and I set it up on our fancy OLED TV, and oh my freaking god, does this game look good. It's like a playable movie. It is graphically stunning and it runs so smoothly that the game would switch from cutscenes to gameplay and I wouldn't even notice immediately. I was just like, oh, it's me. It's my turn to start playing. The only downside about this game is that it was surprisingly short, and I really wish there'd been more to it. Even after playing through the story, and hunting the collectibles to get the platinum, I was still left wanting just a little bit more. Stardew Valley. I absolutely adore Stardew Valley. It's one of my all-time favourite games. I tend to play it in short bursts because every time I pick it up I get absolutely addicted. I actually played this when I was finishing off my dissertation for my master's degree. I would reward myself with short sessions of gameplay and found it really helped me de-stress. Stardew is a gem of a game. It's got everything: strategy, combat, story, and a great sense of humour. If you haven't played this one, then you absolutely have to check it out. Assassin's Creed Syndicate. For anyone who doesn't know by now, Assassin's Creed is my favourite game series. For some reason though, despite picking up Syndicate on release, I just never got round to finishing it, and I decided it was time to rectify that. I really enjoyed this game. The Fry twins are great characters, especially Evie, who is such a badass. The game is set in Victorian London, so being British and actually living in London, I had a real appreciation for exploring the world and the different boroughs. The one issue I did have with this game though is that it's not optimised for the PS5, so I did have some not particularly pleasant visual glitches. I mean, thankfully they were infrequent enough that it didn't really hinder my play, but yeah, not great. Oh, yeah, that's one thing. I would not recommend getting the platinum for this game. Syndicate has one of the grindiest trophies I've come across in my albeit short time trophy hunting. The trophy is called Without a Grudge, and it requires you to destroy 5,000 destructible objects while driving a carriage. The thing is, there is no way to track how much you've destroyed, so you just have to spend hours and hours driving around crashing into everything, and it was incredibly tedious. If I'd known about it at the beginning of the game, then I suppose it wouldn't have been so bad because you could just gradually build up, but if you find out about it near the end of the game like me, then you're stuck spending hours grinding and it's just not fun. Like, so much so that this was actually the last game I attempted to platinum. It definitely forced me to take a break from trophy hunting and focus more on just enjoying gameplay, which I suppose is a good thing. Assassin's Creed Origins. After Syndicate, I moved straight on to Origins, and I was really looking forward to this because, again, I picked the game up on release and just one thing or another never got around to finishing it. Origins is a really good game. It was fun, challenging, I was invested in the story of how the Creed of Assassins came to be, and because I took a step back from trying to get 100% completion, I ended up really enjoying the time I spent with this game. Frostpunk. After my time as an assassin, I wanted to play something completely different, and I ended up trying out Frostpunk. Now, initially, I would have said that this is totally not my kind of game, because I don't really enjoy building strategy type games, but Frostpunk is just plain awesome. I absolutely loved every minute of it. The story aspect was really well done and kept me invested in my colony, and honestly, everything about this game is just brilliant. I love the constant survival challenge. I can safely say this is now one of my all-time favourite games. Starcraft II. This is a little bit out of the left field. So towards the end of last year, me and Sky decided to try out Starcraft II, and we got really into it. So for anyone not familiar, Starcraft is a real-time strategy game, so it's got both a campaign and a versus mode, and you can play as 3 different races. So we started playing through the campaign, which starts you off with the human race, the Terrans, which are basically just Marines. And then from the campaign we progressed into learning how to play 1v1, And I got super into the competitive side of this game. I was watching videos on YouTube, practicing build orders against the AI, trying to get the timing and the order right, and basically trying to win as many ranked matches as possible. I ended up breaking into Silver Rank 1, which for anyone who doesn't play is 5 ranks above where you start. So it was basically looking pretty good for me, but I took a break from playing over the holidays and I just haven't got back into it. I mean, if it's your kind of thing, it's an awesome game and I would really like to get back into it at some point. So there we go. That was a list of the best games that I played throughout 2021. I hope you enjoyed me sharing my favourite games with you. Leave a comment, let me know your best game from last year, and let me know what you think of this style of video where I sit down and have a chat about my gaming experiences. Take care. Bye.